All right, everyone. It is 8:30, and so we are gonna get started. Um, this is our December Butler County General Health District Learning Webinar. Today we're gonna be hearing from our Health Commissioner, Eric Bolster, um, on the Board of Health and governance at a health department. The purpose of these learning webinars are to improve communication and break down silos. They're also a really great educational tool for internally at our health department, but also to share with the public when it makes sense. So when people are asking what is the Board of Health, or what is its purpose, all of those things can be answered through these webinars that we do. I am going to hand it off to Eric. This is a recorded series, and so after we're done today, I will upload it and make a couple edits, and then I will share it with the entire health district. And so if you do have questions while he's speaking today, please put them in the chat. What I will do is I'll share them afterwards. And then when I send out this recording, I will send out the answers to those questions as well. Eric, I am going to hand it off to you. I usually am able to mute myself at this point and turn my screen off, but I'm having a couple issues with that. And so I will be here quietly in the background. But let me know if you need anything.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. So today I am going to be talking about boards of health and local public health in Ohio. And I think it goes without saying that the term board of health or boards of health and health department are sometimes used interchangeably. And my hope with this today is to kind of demystify those two terms and bring some clarity as to what they are and how they operate and how they came to be in Ohio. And really a lot of this stems from a historical context of really how health departments came into being within Ohio and across the country for that matter. Really how they've been shaped today to perform the tasks that we do on a daily basis. So with that, I think it's probably best to go in with what is a board of health. And a board of health in the state of Ohio is the governing authority of a local health district. So as I mentioned just a moment ago, boards of health are sometimes, health departments are sometimes referred to as boards of health. And that's not inherently wrong to say, but the Board of Health in the context of what we talk about here in Butler County or in Ohio typically refers to the governing body. And that's a group of people that we'll be talking about just here in a moment. Per the Ohio Revised Code 3709, it's actually a political subdivision, much similar to a school district. And again, this was all outlined in Ohio Revised Code Chapter 3709. And it outlines not only what a Board of Health is, but the powers of a local Board of Health. And those things include, well, hopefully are pretty obvious to most people, which include nuisance abatement and communicable disease control. The powers and duties of boards of health and health commissioners are actually outlined in the Ohio Revised Code in Chapter 3707, which is all, very interesting reading if you really want to go check it out to look at the fine print. But there's pretty much everything that we do is laid out in statute. Each health district, again, is a separate political subdivision. Each health district has a health commissioner who reports to the Board of Health. And then furthermore, we'll go into a little bit of the makeup of the Board of Health here in just a second. So a Board of Health, will vary, on a couple of things. So as a general health district, which is what Butler County is, our Board of Health members are actually appointed by what is called the District Advisory Council, which we'll go into a little more detail here in a moment. And it's made up of, again, the president of the Board of County Commissioners, a mayor of each village, and the chairman of the Board of the Township Trustees of each township in which the health district represents. In our particular case here in Butler County, we also have mayors who represent cities who are part of our general health district. In Butler County, that would be Oxford, Fairfield, and Trenton, and they appoint representatives to the board as well. Here in Butler County, each Board of Health member serves a 3-year term, and they're actually eligible for compensation of attending the monthly board meetings of $80. So, Butler County is kind of unique. We get to have 2 different kinds of health departments or health districts that are found in Ohio. So there's really 3 main types. There are general health districts, which are the county, which is what we are, and probably the most common throughout Ohio. I think probably about 50% or so are that. Then you have city health districts, and we actually have 2 of those in Butler County, both the city of Hamilton and the city of Middletown. And then there's combined health districts, which those are health departments in which they've combined in some point in history what was their city health department or city plural health department, and with the county and become a combined health district. So if you go to our east to Warren County, they are actually a combined health district. Um, So just a little more details on what these health districts actually make up. So a city health district must be a municipality with a population of more than 5,000 people, and a combined health district is a district of one or more city health districts. So again, up to 5. And then I should add, up to 5 contiguous general health districts may also unite. A more recent development in the last 10 years actually kind of changed that as well. So House Bill 59 in 2013 allowed non-contiguous. So you could have us here in Butler County and let's say Greene County combine, and also that 5 district limit that was historically in place has been removed. So in theory, you could have 10 health districts in some part of the state that are combined into some kind of collaborative health entity. At this point, there isn't such a health department, but it is something that is on the books. So little interesting piece of Ohio Revised Code there. So I think probably one of the more interesting aspects of boards of health and health departments in general is kind of understanding how we got to where we're at. And the history of public health in Ohio is pretty interesting. There's actually quite a bit of literature on it, and it kind of mirrors what was going on around the rest of the country at the time when things were going on. So first, the history of public health in Ohio is really kind of a story of a very decentralized, like crisis-driven response to um, you know uh, common things that were going on at the time, to what we now see as more of a standardized, very procedural, comprehensive system. So early boards of health were typically temporarily made in response to major health crises. So some of those, in particular, there was a major cholera epidemic in Cleveland in 1832. And with that, they were really looking at sanitation and inspection, and it was really done as kind of an ad hoc group when things arose. Groups of physicians and city community leaders would get together and solve the problem, and then they'd kind of disband. Um, in addition to that, you may be wondering about the state health department. So the state board of health was actually formed in 1886. And that's not to be confused with the Ohio Department of Health. It's just the first official state board of health, much like our board of health was established in 1886. And its primary function was to, at that time, was to coordinate public health efforts across the state. And really, their main thing was to look at tuberculosis, which, up until, the last, 50 years or so, was really one of the main focuses of all public health, and it still remains an important one today, as you're hopefully aware here, even at our health department. So that's one of those kind of common roots in public health throughout the state. So moving on to more modern times, and we'll call this the post 1917 era. This is really when we started to see health departments take shape as the way they are today. There's a couple main events that really triggered a lot of this action to take place. So, um, you know, at first, the first main culprit of this was the statewide smallpox epidemic of 1917. I think everyone's aware of the global influenza pandemic of 1918, also known as the Spanish flu. And then also around this time, we had the official creation of the Ohio Department of Health. And then probably the biggest thing that, we see today was the Hughes and Griswold Acts of 1919. And these really were the key factors in making public health and health districts what they are today. So a little bit more on that. In 1917, the Ohio General Assembly created the Ohio Department of Health to control the spread of all infectious disease. So, they made it a more formalized governmental structure. And this is very much in line with what you were seeing across the rest of the country at the time. The Hughes and Griswold Acts of 1919 were really the pieces of legislation that made health departments what they are today. So these acts basically established a uniform structure for all health districts. So they formally defined what a board of health was and a district advisory council. And they defined what a city health district was and a general health district. And for the most part, this has all remained the same today. Historically, moving on to more recent times, the year 2019, oh, and my picture doesn't appear to show up, but in the year 2019, it marked the 100-year anniversary of the Hughes Act and the Griswold Act. And, this was celebrated at some health departments in 2019, and some were going to celebrate it in 2020. We all, I think, know what happened in 2020, but it was kind of a interesting way to celebrate 100 years of public health in Ohio with the COVID pandemic across the world. But again, this day was, or this year rather, was meant to really showcase that, and I guess we got to showcase it on a quite a different level at that point. So moving on. So after 1919. Public health work expanded, beyond what was, historically just looking at sanitation and disease prevention. Food safety and inspection practices became more ingrained in what we do. So prior to that, there wasn't quite the same level of environmental health, focus and more precisely, more standardization that we see today. Regulation of sewage treatment systems, lead poisoning prevention, and then data collection and vital records. So I spoke earlier about the District Advisory Council, and they really have a couple key things that they do. So they, as I mentioned previously, they are composed of the chief executive of each village, the chair of each township's board of trustees, and then the president of the county commissioners. And depending on whether you're a combined or general health district, this will also vary. Basically, the District Advisory Council's statutory duty is to meet annually in March, like ours does, and they select and appoint members of the Board of Health. So they're beyond their meeting in March. They also, as I mentioned, appoint Board of Health members, and that's probably their most significant power. In our case, they're responsible for appointing 5 or sometimes 4 if a licensing council exists. And we no longer have a licensing council in Butler County, but that would be something that is kind of an independent council that I think some health departments throughout the state still have. And that would be primarily for a general health district. And the appointments that are made to the Board of Health by the District Advisory Council are to be made with due regard to equal representation of all parts of the district. And at least one member of the Board of Health must actually be a physician. In addition to, selecting the Board of Health members, the District Advisory Council also selects a chair and a secretary among its members. They receive reports from the health department. So we always, as many of you know, submit our annual report at this point in time in March. And we answer questions. We give kind of a short presentation as the health district on, what we've been to the last year, go an overview of, basically statistics, give a very sky high view of everything. And then, it's also an opportunity for the District Advisory Council to make recommendations, non-binding recommendations to the Board of Health or the Ohio Department of Health regarding public health, sanitation, or any kind of needed legislation that would be for the betterment of the county and the district that we serve. So a Board of Health, getting back to, again, really what the Board of Health is, and what they can do. So there's really a couple main things that they are obliged to do. The first one is adopt policies and regulations to promote health, prevent disease, and abate nuisances. These can be things like solid waste issues, standing water that breeds mosquitoes, things of that nature. Review and approve all fiscal, legal, program, and planning operations. That's kind of the day-to-day things. Appoint the health commissioner and establish salaries, job descriptions for personnel. And then hear appeals from the public regarding public health orders issued by health district staff. So, for example, when we issue orders on various environmental health issues, there's typically a process that that a individual or a company or a owner or a license holder can come and contest or work with the Board of Health on addressing those issues. Some of the other things, in a little more detail, disease control is obviously one of the main tenets of that is tasked to a Board of Health. So they can, part of that is due to our input as the health district employees and staff. So our epidemiologists, for example, study and record the prevalence of disease, and then they provide for the diagnosis and control of communicable disease. And through that, they can, recommend to the Board of Health various, things that they can pass or legislation that they can endorse and bring up the food chain to both the state and our elected officials. In addition to, we talked a little bit just a second ago about inspections and environmental health, but their oversight includes mandating and conducting inspections of the food facilities that we license, the retail food establishments, pools, schools, jails, private sewage and water systems. And then, the other thing with regard to environmental health is establishing fees, and that's usually a pretty elaborate process where we actually garner public input or gather public input to when we establish our fees, and then the Board of Health actually sets and imposes those fees for various services, licenses, permits, inspections, and so on. The other part of a health district, and not necessarily a part of the board itself, is the health commissioner, which is my role. And per the ORC, this is all in 3707 and 3709. You can read more in depth of this, but the health commissioner acts as the secretary and executive officer of the Board of Health, and is the chief executive officer of the health department. The roles include managing and administering day-to-day functions of the health department. And then the health commissioner is also charged with the enforcement of all sanitary laws and regulations. And actually, they do have some requirements to be a health commissioner. So the ORC actually requires that the credentials for the role include either being a licensed physician or holding a master's degree in public health or a related field. Some of the other things that as a health commissioner that I'm tasked with is the study and record of prevalence of disease within the community, providing to the community at large diagnosis control of communicable disease, and then ensuring that the required reporting from physicians and other medical providers of all communicable disease are made to our health department. Obviously, we talked about environmental health and sanitation. There's regulation that is part of the oversight process as health commissioner that I'm tasked with. Food safety and protection, and then vital records are all part of what is officially in the Ohio Revised Code under health commissioner. Up next is medical director, and as you all know, we do have a medical director here at the health district, and most health departments have a medical director, even if the health commissioner is a physician. So, just for the sake of argument, if the health commissioner is not a physician, the Board of Health is required to employ a medical director, which would be a licensed physician, either a MD or DO, to oversee all medical related services. So as I mentioned, we do have a medical director here at Butler County General Health District, and most health departments with physicians as health commissioners actually still also have medical directors. So it's an important role and is one that is required. It provides in our case they provide medical direction to the department's clinical staff, particularly the nursing department and nurses. They signed standing orders for public health nursing and clinical activities. So that was really crucially important during COVID. Whenever there were vaccines that were coming out, or whenever there is medication and things of that nature that is particularly during a emergency preparedness event, they have to sign standing orders approving the dissemination of pharmaceuticals. And then, I kind of go over that again a little bit here in the next point. So during a preparedness event or emergency response event, or in a lot of our preparedness exercises that we've done, they oversee the receipt and distribution of the licensed pharmaceuticals, or what is called SNS, or Strategic National Stockpile materials that we get. So they play a critical role in all of that as a physician and medical director. So one of the key components of a board of health and a health district in general that I think is really kind of an important thing is understanding the funding of local health departments, and this really impacts a lot of things. So there's basically four main ways in which we're funded here, not only in Butler County but across the state at all local health departments. The first one's through local tax levies. The second is through fees and licenses. So that's like your food licenses, or like our fees our sliding fee scale for vaccinations or other services. We have state and federal grants. Those can come from Ohio Department of Health. They can come from Health and Human Services. They can come from EPA. Really, any number of our state and federal partners in that world. And then the final one is local government assessment. So this is like our inside millage, or millage that is provided by jurisdictions that's been agreed upon at some point in time. And this is typically for county level health departments or general health districts. So really the last main part that I think is crucial to what a health department is, and how we function within a community, is the public participation aspect. So we're obviously here at the health district, and the boards of health exist to be there for the public and the locations that we serve. So public participation is really crucial. They have an influence on a local health district's board of health through a couple different mechanisms, primarily primarily centered on the idea of transparency, public input, and as well as the political and funding structure of a health district. So local boards of health are public bodies. So that means that when our board of health, the entity board of health, meets, all official business is open to the public and conducted in open session. Anyone in the public has the right to attend a meeting and provide input at a designated time. In addition to that, in addition to the meetings that we hold as a health district or as a board of health, many of you at the health district, and then in various communities that you may live in, have participated in a community health planning and assessment activity. So we obviously do community health assessments, community health improvement plans, where we try and gather input from all across the community, other agencies, the public at large, and that's a way the public does actually influence where our programs are kind of targeted, and what's important for us, and maybe things that we don't necessarily see but is extremely important to the community we serve. And then finally, they have financial and political influence in a lot of ways. While we don't have a levy here in Butler County for our health district, many jurisdictions do, and a local voting body can decide to provide consistent funding, additional funding, or think that funding is too much and they can vote down a levy in some cases. So there is that aspect. And then, in addition to that, there is the political component. And, throughout the year, you probably have heard of, or throughout the years, you've heard various different pieces of legislation that impact public health, everything from marijuana legalization to changes in the food code, and those are all things that not only the Board of Health has an impact on, but the public at large can talk to their legislators and say, hey, I think we need to look at safety regarding amusement parks or pools, and pool safety, and those are things that all can be trickle up the chain at the state level and impact what we do here at Butler County General Health District. So really quick, just to summarize everything we talked about, and really all these topics could have a presentation of their own, but Ohio operates in a really decentralized public health system grounded in state law, with a state health department as kind of our guiding entity. Local boards of health serve as the governing authority for a local health district. They set policy and ensure legal and fiscal accountability. City, county, and combined health districts differ in structure, funding, and jurisdiction, but they all share the general core responsibilities. Butler County General Health District operates as a general health district. I don't know why I have combined there, coordinating services alongside city health departments. So I think why I actually wrote that is to signify that Butler County is pretty unique. We do have two city health departments within the county borders, so we do work with our city health department partners, and we have a unique relationship in that they can operate slightly independently and meet the more direct needs of their cities, and are independent of us. So that is, again, something kind of unique to Butler County that not every county still has, and let alone having two of them in addition to a county health department. And then finally, local health departments deliver services, while the Ohio Department of Health provides the oversight, standards, and support. So we're kind of the worker bees of the greater hive, if you will. So with that, that concludes, again, a really brief and kind of sky-high overview of how governance works within local boards of health, as well as local health districts in Ohio, and in particular Butler County. And obviously, again, I encourage you all, if you are interested, there's a plethora of good information related to the history of this in Ohio, and really how it came to be. And it's one of those things, too, that continues to change and evolve. There's been different pieces of legislation over the year that have changed how boards of health operate and how health districts operate. And it's been just over 100 years of how this all officially operates. So it's still kind of young in that regard, and I'm sure things will change. But again, hopefully we maintain offering our core tenants and our core things that we need to deliver to our communities. And again, I appreciate everybody's time today. And if you have any questions, please submit them to Dominique, and we'll get back to you with those as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I learned a whole lot, and so I'm sure that everybody else did too. I will try to get this out before the end of the week. And yeah, if you have any questions, please submit them to the chat and I will make sure that we get them answered. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.